Estamos en unas infraestructuras.
We are in a perhaps larger infrastructure within the Water Resource Management Center.
La llamamos rain shelter.
We call it Rhine Shelter, which means water shelter. It is a structure of approximately 1,000 square meters,
El cual a través de un techo corredizo
which through a sliding roof we protect the plots from the rain.
eso nos permite
This allows us to carry out advanced studies on the relationship between soil, water, plants, and the atmosphere,
buscando identificar y evaluar
seeking to identify and evaluate new cultivars that are more adaptable to water stress conditions, as well as to identify agronomic practices that can be adapted to counteract climate change situations
adaptar para contrarrestar las situaciones de cambio climático frente
in the face of less water in the soil.
Aquí en este momento tenemos evaluadas
Here at the moment, we have evaluated 3 varieties
que nos va a permitir establecer
with 2 irrigation frequencies that will allow us to establish how each of them will behave in the face of conditions of less water
planes de manejo
in the soil, and in this way establish management plans that will help us to adapt to the water deficit
hídrico que nos ocasiona
caused by climate change.
cambio climático. Esta estructura, además de cubrir,
This structure, in addition to covering, is a fully automated and intelligent structure,
que con las primeras gotas de lluvia
which, with the first drops of rain through a rain sensor, will warn the structure that rain is going to start. Therefore, this structure will automatically start to move
desplazarse hasta cubrir la totalidad de las parcelas.
until it covers all the plots, and also in the absence of rain with sun exposure.
El sensor va
The sensor will give the indication to this structure to return and have solar exposure to the plots.
a posición solar a las parcelas. Entonces eso nos ayuda realmente
That doesn't really help us to find a field condition, but with a controlled soil moisture situation,
muy importante para estudios de avanzada
very important for advanced studies, to assess all the effects of climate change on the rice cultivation.
Estamos en otra de las estaciones
We are in another of the research stations or research modules that the Water Resources Management Center has. We are in the Sky area, where we are evaluating the agronomic management of different varieties under local conditions.
agronómico de las distintas variedades. Esta es otra parte
This is another part of the technological offer that the center has, in which we can evaluate different agronomic management strategies,
agronómico, como es el caso de las densidades de siembra,
such as sowing densities, as is the case with nitrogen fertilization. And this will help us to ensure that integrated crop management has a better response to the behavior of the varieties.
frente al comportamiento de las variedades. Entonces, esta es una estrategia que también
So this is a strategy that FIDEROS, Fondo Nacional de Arroz, also has, not only to be local research, but also to show farmers through technology transfer how we can manage our varieties well,
la variedad y de esta forma
and in this way increase yields, and of course reduce production costs,
disminuir los costos de producción y de esta forma
and in this way be more competitive in the different scenarios in which we currently find ourselves.
estamos. Nuestro centro también cuenta con
Our center also has a fully automated agroclimatic station,
el cual nos va a medir
which will measure the different meteorological variables that are very important for evaluating any research in the field.
que se tenga en campo. Esta información climática va a estar en línea.
This climatic information will be online. It is very easily transferred to the cloud so that we can have immediate access in real time to this key information to know the behavior of each of the experiments and their relationship with the climate.
Una de las estructuras también
One of the structures also highlighted in our Water Resource Research Center
la evaluación de los requerimientos hídricos. Para eso,
has to do with the evaluation of water requirements. For this, we have here a research structure known as lice meters. In this case, a volumetric lice meter will also allow us to establish the civic requirements of crops,
o el uso consultivo.
measuring the evapotranspiration of the crop or the consultative use. This is key when defining water management strategies based on the use of varieties and also based on the granting of water through the irrigation districts.
Entonces, este tipo de infraestructuras de investigación
This type of research infrastructure will help us determine the water balance in rice cultivation, and based on that, we will determine how much water each variety needs. A key instrument in research into water use and also as adaptation strategies,
vamos a utilizarlo
we are going to use it for research into the movement of nutrients and solutes in soil solution in deep drainage, to know how much of the fertilizer and how much of those solutes that pass through the root and percolate finally reach the deep drainage
que ya no son aprovechados por las plantas,
and are no longer used by the plants. This will also allow us to know this nutritional balance, this balance of fertilization, generating information that will also allow us to establish adaptation
y mitigación,
and mitigation strategies for the use of fertilizers, and in this way also be more efficient in their use and in the use of water, always seeking integrated crop management with respect to the effect of climate change.
Estos lisímetros cuentan con 16 celdas
These lice meters have 16 cells, each one separately, in which we are going to measure the water that enters,
del sistema
the water that leaves the system, the water that remains in the soil, and therefore the water that evapotranspires and enters the physiological processes of the plant for its consultative use. It is really a very complete structure that is fully automated with this roof of certain times of research that is required. Therefore, it is a sliding roof very similar to the Rhine shelter. So it is really going to allow us to know in a controlled way
de acuerdo al objetivo.
Also some studies of water balance according to the objective of each experiment of each research that is required. This is one more outstanding infrastructure of our Water Resources Management Center.
El Centro de Gestión de Recursos Hídricos
The Water Resource Management Center will enter its second phase of construction, in which we'll have a water conduction channel from the concession here in the district of
a partir de la concesión de aquí el distrito de
Socoelo to bring water to a reservoir that we will build at the back,
que nos va a permitir tener una
which will allow us to have an autonomy of between 3 and 4 weeks of water supply,
importante para
which will be very important to carry out these research studies. Since the center must always guarantee water for its objectives, therefore, having this infrastructure such as reservoir will be very important.
ser muy importante. Además de esto, vamos a interconectar
In addition to this, we are going to interconnect an automated and pressurized irrigation system that will allow water to enter each experimental unit.
Permitir que el agua ingrese
And this will be measured by means of electrovalves, both the water that enters and the water that leaves, in order to have all the information on the water balance for each experimental unit. During the whole research process, each time measurements of each experimental unit will be key.
Finalmente, este centro se convertirá
Finally, this centre will become a model research centre at national level and of international projection for many of the researchers that the rice sector, FEDEROS, Fondo Nacional del Arroz, will carry out, with the objective of always thinking about adapting to climate change with strategies of real impact in terms of efficient water use. We hope our friends, producers, agronomists, researchers and agricultural professionals in general to visit our research centre with their work teams. We will be attentive to show you everything we do here in FEDEROS, Fondo Nacional del Arroz, always looking for our common goals, which is a sustainability of our rice sector, with competitiveness always being environmentally friendly.
Agradecemos.
We thank the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development for the support we've received for the construction of this research centre, FEDEROS, the National Rice Growers Federation and the National Rice Fund, our institutions that gave us all the support to make this a reality and make the Colombian countryside a research centre
Un centro de investigación
for such an important resource as water resources.
hídrico.